Hello everybody, I'm Katy and welcome to the Thomas & Thomas Tax Updates Masterclass session. These facts are all relevant to the 2020-21 tax year and are correct as of July 2020. So let's start with the personal allowance. There is a bit of deja vu here. In fact, there's a bit of deja vu throughout this presentation. The personal allowance remains at £12,500. So this is the amount of income you can receive without paying tax. You may not have noticed that this is the same personal allowance as last year because we have been rightfully distracted by the pandemic. I thought it would be useful to refresh ourselves on what tax is due on income over £12,500. If income falls between £12,500 and £37,500, it is taxed at 20%. If income falls between £37,500 and £150,000, it is taxed at 40%. And income over £150,000 is taxed at 45%. But remember, if your income exceeds £100,000, you will start to lose your personal allowance, and you will lose £1 of allowance for every £2 you are over £100,000 per year. So now let's have a look at tax on interest. And this is really relevant to cash held in a bank account, which used to be paid net of tax, which was nice and simple, but is now paid gross. So for a basic rate taxpayer, you can receive £1,000 of interest tax-free. And for a higher rate taxpayer, this would be £500 tax-free. But for additional rate taxpayer, there is no relief and all will be taxed. Next up is dividend income, and this is something our clients would be familiar with if they hold an OIC portfolio. So you can receive £2,000 of dividend income tax-free. Once you go above that £2,000, the basic rate is 7.5%. The higher rate of tax on dividend income is 32.5%. And for an additional rate taxpayer, you will be taxed 38.1%. Something else our clients will be familiar with is an ISA, or an individual savings account. So the ISA allowance for 2020-21 tax year is £20,000. Yes, a bit more deja vu there because this is again unchanged. And here's a little fact for you. This has not changed since April 2017. Of course, remember that ISAs are very useful tax vehicles and they can be inherited between spouses. There were actually some changes to the capital gains tax this year, and the allowance rose slightly. Remember, capital gains tax is due on profits on the sale of most assets. You do, however, have a separate personal allowance for these gains, which this year has risen to £12,300. The trustee allowance is £6,150. The rate of tax above the allowance is typically 10% within the basic rate band and 20% on the balance. For trustees, this is fixed at 20%. However, the tax on property is 18% on basic rate and 28% on the balance. Again, for trustees, the higher rate of 28% is due on gains above the allowance. Finally, inheritance tax. This is always a useful subject to refresh ourselves on. The nil rate band remains at £325,000 per person. As a reminder, the nil rate band is the value your personal estates can be worth without being subject to inheritance tax. The nil rate band is combined for married couples and those in a civil partnership. The residence nil rate band was introduced in April 2017 and has been increasing yearly. This year it reached its peak of £175,000 per person. This is great news, as a combined married couple's nil rate band could be as much as £1 million. Now there are some quirks to this additional allowance, which we will be happy to discuss. Please get in touch. It's question time. Now, can you remember in what year did the ISA allowance rise to £20,000? Thank you very much for bearing with me. I know tax can be a little dry, but I think you can all agree it is really useful to refresh ourselves. We are going to take a short break, but keep your eyes on your emails because we'll be sending another link through at 11:20 a.m. Thank you.